Are y'all ready to get this started?
Let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Let's get it. Here we go.
Sit your ass down and get ready for the next episode of the Urban Green Room. The Urban Green Room. With your host, my girl AA and that dude D. Lewis.
Hey everyone, it's your girl AA.
What's up, world? It's your man D. Lewis.
And welcome to another episode of the Urban Green Room Podcast Season 2. And as you can see, we got guests in the house.
Newcomers.
Okay. Yes, newcomers. I am so psyched to have them here with us. So get this. If you are not familiar with As Fuck Podcast, then shame on you, because they are two of the dopest individuals out there. I love the podcast. D loves the podcast. We've even shared it with a few of our other close friends because the content alone will get you thinking. And as they say, as fuck, you know, it's worth talking about. So I need to welcome to the Urban Green Room podcast, Chancey and Charles. I am so excited to have you here, and I'm happy because now I know who's who.
Welcome, guys.
So
welcome.
Thank you so much. We're happy to be here. So my name is Charles, and I am one half of As Fuck the Podcast, and I am excited to be here to talk to you both, and talk to, you know, your audience and give them some insight on things that we think about, things that we, you know, talk about, specifically the topic for tonight and stuff of that nature. So I'm super excited, and I know Chancey is just excited as I am. So I'll give him the floor to, you know, introduce himself and talk about his experience a little bit.
My name is Chancey. I am the other half of As Fuck the Podcast. Thank you so much for having us on once again. It means a lot to us. This is our first feature on someone else's podcast. So we're just, you know, so you got us first. So you got us first. So, you know, and I can speak for both of us saying, like, we're just super humbled and honored that you thought of us. And I enjoy your podcast just as much as you
want to be nominated also for Best Podcast Newcomers of the Year. Seriously.
Oh, wow.
Seriously.
Yeah, y'all funny.
And look, I don't say that about everybody's podcast that I listen to.
Wow.
But just, okay, here's the thing. I listened to my very first podcast that I listened to with you guys was on the topic that we're going to talk about tonight, which is sexuality and being gay and a Black male in America.
Or not just that. I think we're going to expound on that a little bit too, because there's, and listening to that same podcast, there was just so much more and so many different levels that I don't think people who aren't involved, you know, in that lifestyle one way or the other, whether, you know, participatory or, you know, just from being advocates or, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot that I tried to pick out of that. It's so much. It's like a layer of onion. It's like an onion layer when you start pulling it back. So not only did you have, you know, the sexuality piece of it, but it goes so much deeper than that. And it's something that we never really talk about in our community as a Black community overall. You know, so that's kind of what we want to do as part of the Urban Green Room podcast, is to get these topics in front of us and discuss them, because we shouldn't be ashamed to discuss any of these topics anywhere. It's just a part of life, and we can, you know, even if we agree to disagree on some things, it's still part of healthy debate, which helps us all grow. So that's what we kind of want to get into, you know, tonight, because I got questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think we kind of all have that same upbringing in the Black communities, you know, where certain things just aren't supposed to be. We're told, you know, we're taught that men are a certain thing. We're taught that women are certain things and behave certain ways. And that's it. Like, that's it. That's all. Nigga, don't say nothing else. Like, you, right? Like, you would actually be afraid of physical contact, be it from your parents, like, right? If you had a pops in the household, or brothers, or just your friends out in the neighborhood, we can't really openly express ourselves sexually. So, how was that experience? I did not mean to take this over. This is really not my deal.
You totally did.
But
but I'm excited. I'm excited that you're excited about having this conversation with me and with them. So let's get into it. The first question I want to ask,
I'm gonna get the reins back to the boss.
When did you both know that you were gay?
Okay. Chancey, would you like to start?
Okay, I can start.
Okay.
Okay. I knew really young. I really want to say I knew when I was probably maybe 6 or 7.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't realize how different I was from everybody until I looked back on it as I got older, and it was just the things that I was interested in. The way that I viewed my relationships with women versus the way that I viewed my relationships with men. Even when I was younger and people be like, oh, you have a girlfriend, or that's your girlfriend, or what's up with you and this girl? Years before I came out, I'd be like, no, that's really just my friend. And I always saw myself getting defensive when I got that question, and just thinking about it like that from that, standpoint. Because a lot of the times when people hear, I know for Charles and I, we have friends, we probably share our stories of when we knew that we were gay and everything like that. And a lot of the times from the outside looking in, people think, oh, because a guy's, boys playing with Barbie dolls and girl toys and stuff like that, that's probably the first indication that they're gay. But that's the first time that they realized that they were gay. And for me, it was just it was just something there. I don't know. It was just something there. The way I always viewed my relationships, it's deeper than physical, the physical attributes and the physicality of other people. It's so much deeper than that. For me, it was just the feelings that I have towards this person is probably at that point, I didn't think it was okay. Not okay, but I don't know how to get rid of them.
Right.
So yeah, I knew really young.
Wow.
That's surprising. Like I say, this is all an educational experience for me. So please don't be offended if I don't know shit, because I don't know shit. And that's why we want to have these conversations so we can educate ourselves. And, so I was, we kind of hear all the time. And why I think that 6 was really surprising coming from you, Chancey, is that, we always hear, or a lot of people believe, that it's a choice that's made to be one way or the other. But when you listen to someone describe that they believe that they had these feelings at 6, that's a different ball game. I think I don't think that's a decision we're making. It sounds more so like it's something internally within a person, or at least within you, Chancey, that forced you to look at those relationships between men and women differently. Am I describing that correctly?
Yeah, I think you're spot on. Charles and I talked about this on just between the second episode we did, which was bisexual as fuck, and then the other episode that we did, which was I'm homophobic as fuck. And I think the best way that I could phrase this is that if it was a choice, I don't know if we would choose to be discriminated against when we're already Black and already discriminated against for just the color of your skin. The fact that we grew up being taught that being gay was taboo by a lot of different people, by our family members, by people that we went to school with, by people that we went to church with. And I also grew up Christian as well. I grew up in a Baptist church. I was in church 4 times a week. So that's my upbringing. That's what I know. That's how I was raised. I was told in my household that that was not okay, and that wasn't be, and that if this was the way that you would have lived, that you were probably not gonna see heaven. And so for me, like if it was a choice, I would definitely still choose to be who I am today because I love myself. Mm-hmm. But if we're looking at it from a discriminatory point of view, I would never choose to be, discriminated against in any other facet than I am now. I'm already discriminated against because of how I look. And now it's just like, okay, you're Black and you're gay. Like it's like a double whammy. Like they're just always like, okay, now I have something else to use against you.
Absolutely.
So, people always say, well, it's a choice. And it's like, did you?
Not really.
You really think so?
And that's why I wanted to bring that point out. Yeah. And that's exactly why I brought that up. You think I would
choose this, right?
Right.
I think even from just being Black, like really, I would choose to be Black. Like there's so many other things I could choose to be so that I'm not discriminated against and I don't have this like systematic trauma thrown on me. Like there's so many other things that I could choose and you think like this is my choice. So what about you, Charles? When did you first realize that you were gay?
Me and Chancey and I are similar, and when he talked about his experience of understanding he was different at a younger age, it was about like 5 or 6 for me as well. And the minute I knew I was gay is when I loved Beyonce. That's just it. That was just it. When I knew I loved Beyonce, I was like, and that was just my thing. Destiny's Child, Beyonce. No, but I mean, I definitely felt that I was different, and I definitely was not the kid that played video games. I wasn't the kid that did all of these boyish games or boyish things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't play with like masculine toys or things like that, you're going to turn out being gay. I would never equate the two. But like, I just knew I was different from all the other boys. I just knew I navigated towards the girls more. I hung out with them more than the boys because they were not just rough. Because I'm a tomboy. I'm rough too. Like I can do all the sports, football, basketball.
Definitely the rough one out of the both of us.
I am definitely the rough one out of the both of us.
He wanted to make that shit clear. Like, wait, let's just
If you be like, yo, you want to play football? I'm like, all right, let's go.
That nigga heavy handed.
All right. That's me. Yo, that is so funny. But like when I was younger, I just navigated towards the girls more. I always looked into like beauty. I loved cosmetology. I'm a dancer. I love dance videos. I love like colors that boys typically would not like. I just did a lot of different things. I had a flair. I had a certain walk. Everybody knows my walk is distinctive. So when you see me down the street, even as a little boy, you'll be like, that is Charles. He has a little switch in his walk, but he's cool. He's but that was me. That was how it was for me growing up. And the same as Chancey, I am from a Baptist church and I grew up in the church. I sung in the choir up until I was in my undergrad at my alma mater. And I went to church every Sunday. I went to Bible study. And then after I felt homophobia within the church, I stopped going. Literally as a teenager, I would be called out in the congregation by a pastor or bishop. He would change his whole sermon to switch it around for me. So I kind of dissociated myself from that. Yeah, definitely. Multiple times. Even pastors who weren't like, that wasn't my home church, but like a friend of mine was like, come to church with me. And I'm like, all right, cool. Switch it all around. And like my friends would have to apologize. Like, wow, I'm so sorry that happened. It's okay. I won't be back in this church. I promise you that one. So like, even as a young boy, they always try to like say like, what's going on with you? What's wrong? And I'm just like, well, what is wrong with me? So after a while, as a young kid, I'm thinking there's something wrong with me when all it is that I like something different from everybody else, but I can still function like how you're functioning. So I say all that to say like, it was a very young age where I found out that I was different, or I didn't know what the term was, like gay, bisexual. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that personally, when I saw someone who looked like me, who was like, who had like, boyish features, that was what I was like attracted to. I just didn't know what it was. I dated girls up until 8th grade. I still to this day have women hit on me, which is kind of it's kind of hard to, and I never really talked about it, but we can get into that and all those different things. But like since I was like 5 or 6. So
come
full circle. Yeah.
See, and my experience when I was younger, I'm going to share this story with you because when you kept saying you're different, like you knew something was different. I have an uncle and I just felt something was different about him. And I would ask, because I was the oldest grandchild, I would sometimes ask, like, where's your girlfriend? Because I never see you with girls. And he would say, well, I don't have one. And then I'd be like, okay, because like as a kid, it just is what it is. Because I loved him, but I knew that something was different. And I think the point, like when it finally clicked for me what different is, it was Christmas.
You're about to tell the story.
It was Christmas. And there was a knock at the back door. And I literally, my grandmother said, go get the door. And we're the whole family seated in the kitchen. We having dinner. And I go to answer the door. And there's a gentleman dressed in purple. He had a purple fur coat, purple leather pants, purple shoes. And I remember because my thought was, oh, he like purple. Like, and my other thought was, where he get that coat? So again, I'm a little kid because I'm like, oh, I like everything about this person, right? But I also knew that was different. Like I have tons of uncles and none of them ever wore purple quite like this gentleman did. And so when he asked for my uncle, like I let him in. No, and my grandmother said, what's going on? Hurry up and close the door, right? And I said, okay. She said, who is it? I said, it's somebody for my uncle so-and-so. And she said, well, let him on in. And I was like, because I don't think you guys are ready for different. Like I knew that my uncle was different. And I'm not sure if everybody else knew just how different he was. But we were about to unleash on Christmas Day, I didn't think the family was ready for different. And she said, let him in. So I said, okay. And then the gentleman walks in, him and my uncle, you know, I think went and exchanged gifts or something, said, I see you later. And then he said, you know, goodbye, everybody. And I said, goodbye. It was nice meeting you. And I like that purple coat, right? So me being like the little kid, I was like, because that was a nice fur purple coat, right? And my grandmother said, shut up.
You had style. You knew what style was.
Yeah. And she said, shut up. And at that moment, I felt like it was not okay to be different.
Wow.
And I looked at my uncle and I smiled because I was like, you're different. And I kind of like you anyway. And I really like your friend because that whole purple ensemble to this day was Prince-esque. And I wish I could tell him you inspired me in so many ways, like that moment. But it was I had to find what different was. And I didn't know what gay was, you know, at that time because they didn't really say it. I had heard other derogatory terms like, you know, he's a little sweet, he's a little sissy. And I'd
Sugar
be like,
in the tank.
Sugar in the tank is one,
like,
yeah.
Not my uncle.
And then if you really wanted to be real foul, you just go with the whole faggot shebang, and you know. So those were all things that.
And be like, why? Why is him being different so bad? Because again, I had loved him. I still love him. So the point for me that was my defining moment that it's not okay to be different. And I always go back to that moment because up until then, it was pure. My love for him was pure, and I kind of kept that as I moved forward with anyone who didn't fit the typical norm. You know what I mean? So when I hear your stories and knowing that you knew at a young age, I always wanted to ask him, like, when did you know? Because growing up, I knew. So I think even like you said at 5 and 6, at 5 and 6 and 7 for me, I knew what different looked like and what different was. So I was perfectly okay, loving him still, even though there was that difference or he was perceived as being a little different than everyone else. So I agree. Like I think yourself at that age, but other people also start to pick up on those differences at a young age too.
Yeah.
Yeah. My grandma picked up on it very early. Like she actually, I'll never forget, I had gotten to an argument with my grandfather about something. I want to say maybe I was about 13 or 14 years old. And my grandfather picked up on it too. And I think he was just always frustrated. So he was just always trying to find different ways to like butch me up per se. And I just wasn't for it. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do and I'm going to be who I am. And, that's just who I was, I remember my grandmother early on, telling my mom, like, don't be upset, if he grows up and this is the way that he ends up being. And I just remember my mom reacting so strongly to it. Like, she was like, no, and that's not going to be the case. And, how can you say that? You don't even know. And I mean, my mom, she picked up on it as well. But I mean, she also wants grandchildren, and not saying she can't have them. Right. I'm just not ready yet.
Right.
I'm also not trying to have kids the way you want me to have kids.
There too. There
right.
too.
So, I mean, you just always know. You just always know. I can't even, and like I said, like Charles said, we just have similar ways. It's just something about, you just always know, and people who really know you and who really pick up and look at certain things, they know too. It may not be necessarily that they're going to accept it in that moment, but they know too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think in that episode, Bisexual as Fuck, that I initially started watching, you said something that was like an aha moment for me. Because so growing up, I mentioned I was a theater major to you guys before we started taping. So in my group, I went to a school for the performing arts in New York. So I, as a theater major, you take dance, you learn to sing. I play, an instrument. I mingled amongst all these very talented individuals. And there were always like a group of guys who came out and said I was bisexual. And again, when you're a teenager, you don't really understand the concept but they like boys and girls. But it's always the hope that so-and-so might like me, right? Like, he might not be as gay, but more straight, if that makes sense. So on your podcast, you made mention to the fact that something along the lines that being bisexual is a little bit more acceptable. So when you come out as being bisexual, it kind of evens the playing field for acceptance. Yeah. I mean, that was one of my takeaways. And I thought that was so powerful because deep in my heart, I knew that these individuals were gay. Like they were never going to like me the way I like them. So I needed to let that go. And later on down the line, they fully embraced who they were. And I wanted to kind of touch on that because I think both of you alluded to taking that road before finally coming out and your journey and saying, no, this is who I am. I wanted you to speak a little bit about that because I see so many other individuals and not saying that you can't be bisexual. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm simply saying, for a lot of Black men, it just seems to be the easier route to go, to be able to say, like, I'm preparing you for what I really want to tell you because I know that maybe you will accept me a little bit easier if I break it to you slowly. Like, that's my perception. I just wanted to hear from you guys, like, what was that like for you?
Yeah. So I'll touch on this because I think that might have been me who came out as bisexual. I think when Chancey came out, he came out as just gay. He was just like, okay, I'm just gay. Me, I came out in 8th grade.
There you go.
My friends I came out to my friends. I officially came out to my friends in 8th grade as bisexual, and they were warming and embracing to me. They were not like, they were like, oh, we kind of figured it, but it's okay. We love you. That doesn't really matter. And I was like, well, shit, I should have told y'all I was gay then if I was going to do all that. Because in my head, the concept of coming out as bisexual still is like approval from other people to say, okay, well, at least you like girls. Or at least you, and back then, bisexual would mean like you like either a boy or a girl, cis, or you know what I mean? Like now, bisexual can be you can like trans women and you can like cis gender men. It doesn't really matter. It matters on the sexuality or the sexual preference that you want to go with. So like me, I just came out as bisexual because it was just much easier for me. And then as I got older and navigated, I was like, oh, I'm actually gay. And then I went back and was like, oh, I'm queer. And I was like, I'm actually gay. So I was like going back and forth because it's not just when you identify as one thing, you identify as that for the rest of your life. Sometimes things change over the time and people don't realize that, even when it comes to like sexual endeavors. Like if you like, you're having sexual intercourse, like some people are asexual. They don't want to have that intercourse with anyone, or demisexual, or just different things, biromantic, heteromantic, things of that nature.
Charles, you going too fast for us. You going way too fast for us.
Yo, I'm so fucking lost. Thank you.
Wait a second.
Oh my God.
Like, what the fuck is he talking about? I'm like,
you gotta educate.
That's in my mind, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to be so intelligent with it and shit. Like, yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, this nigga done went off and I have no idea.
That's why we need you here. So back up for a second. Back up.
Let's slow it down for the dummies in the house. Me.
I can get there. I learned a lot of different terminologies in undergrad and graduate school because I worked heavily at the LGBTQ center at my alma mater. So I had to learn, even as a gay identifying Black person, I had to learn so many terminologies. So when people come and talk to me, because I had to provide a service for students who identify with different, identities. So when I speak as if like just throwing the information out, disseminating. Right. So sometimes I have to be like, all right, calm down. We on bisexual. But I'm just saying, like, these are different things that people want to, these are the things that people are like, identify with, but we can get into that. But yeah, coming out as bisexual for me was just an easier thing, or so I thought. But later on down the road, now being bisexual is kind of like taboo too. It's like people would rather you say I'm gay than just say I'm bisexual because they feel like you're confused when that's actually not the reality of it. You just happen to like two different sex. You know what I mean? So that was my thing. And I wish I would have just come out as gay right then and there and not want anybody approval. However, I was 14. I also felt very insecure. I was also alone. That's what I felt in and outside of the home. I definitely was different. I was a bigger body, dark-skinned man who was flamboyant. It was just a lot for me. So if I threw I'm bisexual out, at least you could say, oh, he still likes girls. So that was my spiel.
Thank you for sharing.
That would be a lot. Yeah.
I knew nobody would buy it from me. So
this nigga lying. Nigga just go and say you gay.
I knew nobody would buy it for me. So I always came out as gay. But my close friends always knew. They knew very early on. I want to say like 6th, 7th grade. And they kept that secret for years until I was ready. And then when I decided I was going away to college, I said, okay, like I'm going away to college. I'm going to a new town. I'm going to a new environment where I don't know anybody. This is my chance to really like get to be my most authentic self. And plus it was just a different, environment from high school because, high school is you're just under so much peer pressure,
yes.
and it's just, it's just a different type of way. Like you don't always necessarily want to stand out. I mean, naturally, did I stand out? Absolutely. But it's just, I wanted to kind of like be under the radar as much as I can. I wouldn't necessarily say I wanted to like be friends with a certain group of people, but I also don't want you in my business either, bitch. Like I don't want you in my business. So for me, it's like, you know, I just wanted to just be me, like, you know, just under the radar. And when I came to college, I said, this is where I'm, you know, this is what I'm going to do. And Charles and I met maybe like day 3 or 4. Because that's how we met. We met in undergrad.
Okay.
But Charles
2012.
2012. So we've been friends almost 9 years. But Charles ended up leaving after, you know, freshman. That's a different story for another time. I still really have to get for that. But, you know.
I had to leave up out of there because similar to what Chancey was saying, like when he came there, he was like, okay, I'm gonna be myself here. I went all out. I was like the opposite. Like I wore nail polish, I wore string shirts, I was just like trying to find myself.
That French tie-dye rainbow shirt,
that was my favorite shirt. That was when I told people, like, you see this shirt? I'm gay. That's what that was for me, my first year, freshman year.
Gotcha.
So like when I got there, I was still trying to find myself because I felt like I was in a box at home and I wanted to break free. And when I broke free, it was just like, whoa, who is this? What is he doing? Why is he wearing that? I'm talking about Louis Vuitton bags. My aunt would buy me bags. She's like, if you're going to be this, we're going to make sure you good. We're going to make sure if somebody looking.
That's how I feel.
That was my aunt, you know? And so like when I came to our school that he graduated from that I left, I was just out there. And if you didn't like it, you just didn't like it. I didn't give a fuck. It was whatever it was. If you wanted to step off campus to get it in because you didn't like it, we could have done that. That's just how I am, how I always been. But as long as you respect me, I respect you. And that was what that was. And then after a while, I got out of it like, okay, I lived that. That's not my calling. That's not what I want to do. I still want to be Charles and still have some masculine and feminine energy within myself rather than just being on one side of the spectrum, whether it be masculine or feminine. I'm in the middle. I'm just like, I can switch it up, you know?
And I credit...
Gotcha.
Go ahead.
I credit Charles so much because like when I first met him, like I really wasn't like publicly out like that at all. And so when I met him, like I told, you know, Charles that all the time, like, I feel like you just taught me like, I feel like I just feel like you knew so much at that point, you know? And I always say that to him because it's just like there's certain things that even I didn't know, you know, because he was my first gay friend. So the relationship and the love that I have for him is just very near and dear to my heart, you know, because like that was like the first person that I ever knew that was like me and like we built a genuine friendship. You know, like I credit him so much just for teaching me stuff about myself.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And as do I.
Yeah.
As do I.
And there's a lot to unpack in both of those statements. First off, the first thing I wanted to laugh about is like, I think high school was like, you know, the little small towns you see on TV. You know, everybody know everybody and it's just narrow-minded. You got to be one way or the other. And it's just like that. And then when you go off to college, it's more like you go into the big city. You know, you're leaving a small town, you're going to a big city. It's so much more diversity. It's more acceptance about you being able to find who you really are in college as well. You know, so I think that environment is kind of it's conducive to people being able to be themselves. You know, to really learn more about them and like, who the fuck am I really? You know, versus this person I was trying to be in high school.
Or the person that needs to please your family.
Right, because there's a lot of that shit. You know what I mean? So I see Charles as he was just like, fuck, I'm free now. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. And I'm in your face with it. I'm giving it to you. This is it.
Yeah.
So just so you know, you find yourself, people found out that they was hoes in college too. So it wasn't just about being gay. People found out like, I I've been locked up in the house and now I'm free. And now I'm just giving it up to everybody. And that was men and women. So college, that whole experience to me is something everybody needs to experience, because I think that the first 2 years help define who you are and help you find that path.
Oh my goodness.
And sometimes you need that first year to cut loose and kind of unpack everything that you've been holding in, so that you can gradually become acquainted with who you are, accept who you are, and know your boundaries. Like once you unpack, and you know, for some people you just hold out there, you kind of are like, okay, that's not really what I'm about. Like let me rein it in a little bit and kind of figure out in everything that I've done, who really am I and how far am I willing to go with announcing that? So not just, it to me, when you said that, I was just like, oh, there's a lot of people that unpack some stuff freshman year in college. So, but hearing that experience, like I love the fact that you owned it. You said, this is who I am. I have a fresh and new beginning. But I also love the fact that you guys had each other. And sometimes so many people, you know, Black people don't have that other person that is like them and has traveled a similar road, and can share your experience with. There's the friends, there's your girlfriends, and we're there for you and we offer that support. But I will never know, one, what it's like to be a Black man. Two, what it's like to be a Black man that's gay, because I can't physically walk that path with you. So knowing that both of you had each other, to me, is huge. You know, freshman year in college, and look at where you're at right now. Like I think that's empowering in itself, is that sometimes, you know, people think that they're alone and they're really not.
Yeah. I mean, we immediately just clicked. Like it was like that. Yeah, just like it just was very it was very natural. And the child things we used to do,
college was.
Charles, was you at the party? Was you at the party with the lights on too?
I was at
mesh
parties,
and lights. Did you do mesh and lights, Charles?
Mesh? Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was dressed to the gods when it came to that.
Okay, I was that friend who would have been like, take off the lights. You got too many lights. I'm digging the mesh. Let's get you this and this purse. But we gotta let go of the lights, baby. Like I was that friend on campus where I was like, I love everything about you. Get rid of them lights. Like, I'm gonna talk about you when we get in this party. You still wearing them lights.
That's our close friend Miriam.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
she gets us together.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Miriam.
Yeah.
Shout out to you.
And ironically enough, Miriam is a Black woman who is Muslim and African. And if you don't know, like a lot of people who are Muslim and African, they might not agree with our orientation or our lifestyle, and not just lifestyle as far as sexuality, but our lifestyle is how we navigate, how we express ourselves when you talk about lifestyle. And she loves us to death. Like I've been friends with Miriam since high school, and Chancey, me and Miriam went to Centenary together. Then we met Chancey, but they're really like they're best friends. But me and Miriam have been close for a very, very long time. And so she's one of those people who advocates for us and is an ally. And
that's what's up.
So yeah.
But don't you find that the allies are in the least likely places though, right? The people that you come to include in your circle, when you think about their culture, you're usually like, but technically we're not supposed to get along. Like we're not supposed to be friends because of, you know, what you were taught religiously, or based on, you know, where you grew up. Like we shouldn't be friends. And that's the part where I love that many of us are able to open ourselves to acceptance, Because let's face it, that's all we really want. Let's to the bare basics. As Black people, we are fighting for acceptance. Like that's our common ground. And until I feel like we start to accept ourselves and each other, like how are we going to ask other people to look at us differently? And then we can add on all the other categories, because Lord knows we are beautiful in abundance in the arrays that we come in, and no two are alike, but we got to get to accepting ourselves and accepting those differences. That's what makes us truly unique to me.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we feel so strongly about, like literally. Yeah.
If I could go back in time, I swear I'd do it all differently. Tracy.
From the author that brought you the groundbreaking series, The 716, author A.A. Lewis is back with The Last Letter.
So, question for you, because Charles, you mentioned like accepting your feminine and your masculine self, right? Do you guys feel forced to choose sometimes? Because like I love, so I have many gay friends, right? I have one friend who literally was like, I can't wait for COVID to be over, because he's never played with makeup. And he was like, I want you to beat this face to the gods. And I was like, oh, you know I will, right? Like, I can't wait. Because he was like, let's just do Walgreens. Like, let's do a Walgreens run and just get basic makeup and do it that way. And then we can go do the expensive stuff. And I was like, okay, I can't wait to do that with you. Like, and then I have gay friends who are a little bit more subtle in their approach. So when I think about, having to accept, or I have gay friends that you would never know they're gay until they tell you. Like, they're very masculine. Yeah.
That's trade. That's what we call trade.
That's what we call trade.
Okay.
Trade?
Yeah.
What is
like
that?
A masculine. Trade would be a masculine man or a man who's passing as straight. He can either be gay or he can either be straight. But when we talk about trade, we always talk about like you see that trade, like we talk about a masculine guy. He doesn't necessarily have to be gay. But trade definitely comes from that's a lingo that comes from the Black gay community.
And see, I thought trade was someone who was down low. Like,
it could be that too.
Okay. Teach me.
So any man that's masculine, it doesn't matter if he's BL, doesn't matter if he's gay, doesn't matter if he's straight. He's straight if he's masculine.
Okay. Gotcha. And so I always wondered, like, do you feel forced to choose how, I guess, your level of gayness? Is that a fair way to say it? Like, is there a level of gayness?
It sounds weird though.
No,
you can only be this gay.
I don't like that, because it's like
I don't like it either, but it's not, because to answer that, and I don't know if you were answering first, Chancey, if you wanted to go first.
You know, I don't care.
No, but this might shock y'all, but I only feel like I have to be more masculine in the gay community.
Really?
I feel like I feel like that. What'd you say, Chancey?
I said that's not shocking to me.
It's not shocking. That's just how it is. I feel like I have to beef up or butch up for. There's a lot of homophobia that goes on in the LGBTQ community.
But that don't even make sense.
It doesn't, because people who are
it's the queer. It's the same way that colorism happens in the Black community.
Yes, it's like the ideology of heteronormativity weighs very heavy in the gay community, the Black gay community. Let me talk about that, because if you are someone who's if you're someone who's feminine, they call you a bottom, which you're the taker, or if you're masculine, you're the top. That's the one who's given, and not necessarily my way of how I navigate can depict what I'm doing sexually in the bed. It doesn't really matter. You know, I like what I like, but at the same time, I feel like I have to butch up a little bit more in the gay community. Sometimes the only time I have to feel like I have to butch up with the Black community and with people who are not gay in the Black community is when I'm around men. When I'm in the barbershops, barbershops are very triggering for me. That's why I stopped going to the Black barbers, because I start going to Hispanic barbers, because at least if they're talking crap about me, it's saying it in Spanish. I don't have to get up and fight nobody. Whereas if I'm in the Black community, a Black barbershop, they're talking about women, they talk about all this gay stuff, they talk about all these different things. Like, they say stuff outwardly and not realizing who they have in their chair. So I've always been mute when I'm at barbers. I look down, I say hi, sit in the chair, get my hair cut, and get out there as quick as possible. So that's the only time. When I'm around women, I feel like I could be my most passive self. I could be who I am. So it just depends on that. Like, even when I post content on Instagram, sometimes, like, you know, I was like, hey, should I post this? Are people going to judge me because I'm making a funny video with like some, you know, heels on or something like that? Or if I put makeup on, or if I did that, like, sometimes I'm like, who's watching? Who's my audience? But at the same time, I'm just like, fuck it. Like, you followed me for a reason. You like what I post. If you don't, you can unfollow me, because those likes not really doing much, but just sitting there. You're on the opposite side of the camera being miserable. So I really don't really care no more. But definitely I feel like I have to like butch it up a little bit more when I'm in my own community, the Black gay community.
Mm. I share that same kind of ideology with Charles a little bit. I mean, sometimes, but then I'm just also like, listen, like, you know what, like, either you like it or you don't, you know, because this don't look bad when I wake up in the morning. So, you know, I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm comfortable in my skin. And, you know, so for me, it's like, but I feel where Charles is coming from sometimes. Some of the more masculine gay men do like to shame the feminine men in the gay community. But it's like, listen, at the end of the day, like, you're trying to put on a facade, a face for these people who could care less about you. You know, some of these people could care less about, you know, your rights, gay rights. You know, probably might be saying some shit about you behind your back, quiet as it's kept, when you're not around. You know, so you're trying so hard to gain acceptance from this community that, like, you're not even really a part of. Like, I mean, yeah, you're a part of the Black community, yes, but you're also a part of, like, the, you know, LGBTQ community. So it's just, for me, it's like you're trying so hard to appease people that you don't have commonalities with, i.e. straight people. Now, as far as butching it up, I mean, I'm in a fraternity. So for me, you know, sometimes I have to like butch it up, and I'm an IOTA, so I'm part of IOTA Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. So I'm a part of a Black Greek letter organization.
Yes,
so
you are.
For me, it's you know, some, like, when I first was expressing interest and everything like that, I was like, okay, like, you know, gotta hold it back a little bit, like, just, you know, like, you know, be careful of this, be careful of that. And then when I was, you know, going through my process, obviously trying to make sure that, like, I wasn't, you know, giving off too much either. But then after I crossed, you know, I found out that a couple members in my chapter were gay. And I was sitting here trying so hard, you know, to like be, you know, I guess like just something that not something that I wasn't, but trying not so hard to like just give off that feminine energy. And it was like, yo, like, I got people in the chapter that are just like me, people in my organization that are just like me, people in other D9 organizations who are just like me. And so, you know, I felt like in that moment too. But yeah, I mean, same with the barbershop too. Like, but you know, I'm also comfortable with my barber now. So like I have, you know, I have a good relationship with him. And so like, you know, he, you know, we can talk, and we can talk openly and freely. And I love it. But that is, yeah. And I mean, sometimes when you're at family events, maybe like, you know, because you just got those like old ass homophobic Black, you know, they just be saying whatever the fuck they be wanting to say. But I'm not above giving a good curse out to anybody old or young. Because if you don't respect me, I'm just not going to respect you. You know, I am not a child anymore. I'm a grown ass man who pays his own bills and takes care of himself. and you can go ahead and tell my mama if you want to, but quiet as she ain't gonna check me neither.
She could get it too.
I
know my mama can. She could get it too.
Mama, she get it. She'd be like, okay, I give it to her respectfully.
Respectfully,
like, all right, respectfully give it to her.
Respectfully, yes.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Well, let's talk about that because the family. How did the family feel after you came out? So I have, I have a lot of loved ones who are gay, bisexual, or lesbians, and I'm for it. Listen, I loved you before, I love you now. Ain't nothing gonna change. That's just me. That acceptance, though, acceptance from the family, especially from your mother and your father, we all want that, and hell, I don't get it, and I'm straight. So, so I can only imagine what it's like for someone who's different. So talk to me about that, because like I said, it ain't there for me. So
I know for me, like I told before, like I grew up real religious. My mom was not okay with it. I'm gonna just be honest. But my mom and I have a really, really close relationship. We talk multiple times a day. Charles could tell you, like, and if she don't hear from me, she calling again.
She calling again. She might even.
It's gonna be a 20. It's gonna be a Dateline episode.
Yeah.
So,
she thinking Dateline episode.
Yes. So for me, we just grew up so close because we went through so much together. As I got into my teenage years, I was, I kind of took a different role, because we started to struggle a little bit financially, and we experienced, losing our home and everything. So I kind of took on like a different role of being there to help support my mom too, and just giving her encouragement as well, like as her child too, and just being there for her as much as I could as a child at that point. And then as I got older, obviously doing it from more of like an adult point of view. And so she wasn't really pleased with it at first. And then, and it's funny, my sister's also gay as well, but my sister actually came out way before I did. So she wasn't too pleased about it, but I think we just have such a close relationship, and I just think that I make her proud in almost anything that I do, because in her eyes, she just feels like I can't do any wrong. That's just how she feels about me. So, but with that, she was just like, okay, this is something that I necessarily don't like. Right.
Well, but that's good, because
I love to hear that. Actually,
despite the church, because you said you were heavily raised in a church, despite the church, and knowing how they felt about your lifestyle, your mom still wanted to be your mom. Do you see what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and that's the part that most people don't get.
For sure, I think that and also her and I are just so close. She ain't got no choice. That's how it is that's how I always viewed it. I'm like, she ain't gonna like it, but we are so close. I know she just gonna be like, all right, okay, let's go. And it kind of came full circle, because I had never brought anybody home. Just because, and Charles, I'm just very I'm very particular about who I date and everything like that. So I never brought anyone home, and she met my boyfriend back in September. And that was just it was just a full, it's just a moment. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what's she gonna say? Because I know my mama, she let loose. So I'm just sitting there. I'm just hoping and praying for the best. She was I'm like, please just be nice.
You're like, oh no, black mama, please be nice, black mama.
Right.
Please be nice.
Right. I know her. I am her child, so I know.
Yes.
Let loose. So, but it was a good moment. And, a lot of the older black people in the family, I can't, and I know Charles could agree with it, sometimes she'll slip up, she'll say my boyfriend, and sometimes she's your little friend.
Your little friend or your peoples.
Yeah, your friend. But she acknowledges it, she accepts it. And I mean, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit. I need your mama shit. I'm straight in the motherfucker. I've been married 22 years. She still won't accept the nigga. God damn.
That is so funny. For me, I mean, so everybody in my family figured when I was younger, like, so when I knew I was going to be either gay or whatever, I knew I wasn't going to be straight. I knew I wasn't just straight. I knew that. My mom would jokingly say, oh, he's going to be gay when he get older. And my aunt would say, okay, now if he does, don't get upset when he comes out to you. Like, she was doing it in a joking manner. And when I did come out, she was like, she had a cow. Like, it was just like, my aunt was like, what's going on? Like, why are you acting like that? I have a unique situation as well. I was adopted when I was a baby. But I was fortunate to know my mom, my biological mom, and I spent weekends with her as a child growing up until high school. I would spend summers with her, weekends and stuff. And then our relationship kind of like was estranged when she found out that I finally came out. And her and my adopted mom, like, they were on the phone like more often than they usually would be. And I'm like, y'all don't even talk to each other like that. Like, I don't even think y'all care for each other like that. But because it was something that they both can relate to not liking, they had conversations about it. I mean, they would like find my journals, they would read it. I was just so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. It was rough for me in high school coming out to my moms, both of them. But I had the support of my aunt, which I stayed with her for a lot of times from the age of 14 up until like college, like up until like grad school. I would still visit my mom and like see her. My adopted mom, my biological mom, she and I are like super close. That's like my ace boon. Like, we talk, we kick it. She tell me about her endeavors. I tell her about my endeavors, It's just a great relationship. My adopted mom passed in 2018, my first semester of grad school. So I didn't really get to, talk to her about my feelings and stuff like that. But like, she, after a while, accepted me as well. My oldest brothers, who are like, they're hood, like they're street.
Okay, they hood.
I know. My family, like I'm from Newark, New Jersey. We from the bricks.
Hey, the brick city.
Brick City. I grew up in the, the projects. Like, you can see, like, you see you see how I'm just like, that's just me. Like, my family like that. My mom is like that. So like, my brothers, I thought that I was going to have a hard time with them, but no, they didn't even speak on it. Like, they didn't ask me, why was I wearing this? Why was I switching? Why was I talking like this? Where's your girlfriend? They never asked me those questions. They knew. It's not that they didn't care. It was just like, why am I about to like badger you about what you like and what you don't like? My oldest brother now, like, he comment on my pictures on Instagram and be like, yeah, like, he gassed me up when I'm doing something. Like, he tells me that I'm amazing. He tells me that I'm talented. He doesn't care who I'm dating, if it's a man or a woman or, whoever it is. He doesn't really care. My oldest brother, like, when I came out to my mom, my other oldest brother, when I came out to my mom, she wasn't really happy, my biological mom. And then like, my brother was just like, why are you treating him like that? Don't talk to him. And I was like, he was going off on her, like, just going off, just protecting me. I thought I was his son, the way that he was, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you gonna go up against your mother for me? You gonna do that? Oh, I was just like, I was in bliss because I was just like, wow, like, it feels so good to have the support of my siblings, and not just my siblings, but my male siblings, who I know are like hood. Like, when you think of a hood guy, you think of a street guy, they're not like with it, you know what I mean? But they were like, nah, like, I'm going to show you how to fight, even though I know how to fight. Put me in boxing classes, you know what I mean? I'm going to show you the ropes. I'm going to give you some street knowledge. So if you out on the street, somebody's messing with you, let me tell you who you might can call. Let me tell you what you might can do. So like, after a while, like, the support of my family became like so overwhelming, and I was just like, wow, y'all really do actually love me. Like, everybody's like, you're my favorite. I love you. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, that's amazing, because not a lot of people have that. And
right.
It sucks that sometimes I don't even like to talk about it, because I feel like majority of people who come out are either kicked out, They don't have the resources that like Chancey and I have. And when I talk about resources, family, they don't have the, option of going to school because when their parents found out that they're, not straight, they stopped paying tuition. I've had that happen to a few close friends and people who I've helped out.
Wow.
Like, oh, my parents are not paying for this because, or I can't go home. I can't dress like this at home, or I can't look like this. I can't talk about these things, or, just different things. So I had a better experience getting older with my family members, and like it's just amazing because they really accept me, flaws and all. Like even my younger male cousins, they look up to me, knowing that I'm gay. They look up to me, and to me that's powerful.
It's too much love. It's too much love. That is so powerful. But listen, I'm gonna just
really
let y'all
is.
know. I'm upset right now. Not that y'all had that outcome, but I gotta tell y'all came out to your family. I just told my mother that I was knocking the boots. And I hit her with the H-Town, and me and her ain't been the same since.
That's real, though. That's facts.
So I love the support. I cannot listen to that song, honestly, without thinking of that moment.
Yep.
I handed her that letter and said, "You really want to know what I'm doing? I'm knocking the boots." Like she ain't never forgave me. So that y'all got that level
Mama, I'm wrong, Mama. I'm wrong.
Right.
So did you have any questions?
I do,
that I didn't
actually.
answer?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I've been talking.
It's
go
like,
ahead.
As a heterosexual male who grew up in predominantly Black environments, like I grew up in the projects and Album Hood and all these other things. I don't need you to speak for me, woman.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but so we have this kind of demeanor or a way that we feel we're supposed to portray ourselves to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And anything less, is considered a no. So.
Yeah.
And I think things, they should change. They changed for me anyway when the older I got and I had kids. And we used to joke about, like, what if? And I'd be like, nah, it ain't. I would get, like, my blood pressure would just go through the roof, man, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Just the thought of one of them. And then I was like, well, I started to shed some of the perceptions that were drilled into us as kids. Like, okay, why do people say that? Why can't somebody do this? Why can't somebody do that? And start doing research on, different times and eras, different civilizations. You know what I mean? So we like to throw the fact that we got a lot of technology and all that other stuff right today, but we really aren't the most enlightened, intelligent human beings species that have occupied this planet.
Let's be clear on that.
And there's a lot that we can actually learn by going back in time and looking at the way civilizations used to interact with each other. Mm-hmm. Because nothing is new under the sun, of course. And I think, we put too much emphasis on religion. Not that religion is bad. But when religion is used to control other people and how they react to certain individuals, that's when it becomes bullshit. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I would much rather be a spiritually enlightened person than a religious person. I'm not religious at all because I don't have a relationship that I should have with my family right now because of religious differences. Right. And that's just ridiculous to me. Like, how can you let someone tell you how to feel about your family, somebody you love, because they don't agree with you? And that's kind of how I approach relationships today, because I'll admit to you, 25 years ago, I'm looking at y'all real differently. Like, for real. And I'm not proud to say that. It actually is, I'm kind of ashamed to say it because you know what? I met one of her cousins and that was probably the first time I really had a conversation with a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just never what I would have expected it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous as hell because
You know what
I
I'm saying?
said, it's my favorite cousin. You ain't gonna fuck this up for me. I was like, if you make me choose, like, I might have to go with
that's
him.
my cousin.
Okay.
That's my cousin. No,
I was like,
I feel that.
Yeah,
and
so
I felt bad that I had to preface it that way, but
Yeah.
I knew his background. I knew how he felt about it and why, and I was just like, well, I don't feel that way. Like, I get it. I've heard the same, message you've heard. I just don't feel that way. So when they had that conversation, like, I was nervous as hell. I was like, oh shit, what's going on? Why they ain't come back in? Like, what'd he say to him? Like, and the whole time I'm speaking to his husband and we're hitting it off, but we both looking like, So like that was a proud moment for me when they became friends. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I saw the growth in you. And that made me even more prouder to be like your wife. But it was that moment where I was like, God damn, finally. Like, because I had gay friends, but he would he would be like, no, y'all go have fun. No, you come with us. And he'd be like, no, y'all go. And I'd be like,
nah,
they're together. Why can't you come hang out with us? So that moment was a pivotal moment for us. Because I was just like, I saw the acceptance, and it went further than just like, what if one of our sons happens to be gay? I saw him extend that to someone he didn't know, and he keeps extending it. So I'm just like, look at you growing. I'm all like impressed with you just a little bit, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But I literally was like, yay, I'm happy that like you're peeling back those indoctrined teachings to maybe think on a broader level. And
that's
and
really
for someone who loves history the way he does, and he knows like it was accepted in other civilizations. Like, why can't we get there as Black people to encompass and include everyone, like create that space of inclusion?
Yeah, so it's like it's all about being comfortable with yourself. I think, beyond the religious piece of it, let me go back to your cousin real quick, because I learned a lot about myself at that point. Because when you really break it down, we was just two regular niggas having a conversation that, around, we just met each other. Now, we had heard about each other a lot. But, so going into it, I'm expecting this to go a certain way, or I'm expecting him to talk a certain way, or for him to act a certain way, all the stereotypical shit that we're indoctrinated with when we're growing up. And it just wasn't that way at all. And I was just like, oh, this nigga cool as hell. Like, what was I so afraid of? Right? Because it would and I think that's where the homophobia comes from, because people just there's so much unknown because we've been indoctrinated. Like, I can remember like growing up, like if you knew somebody was gay, like you had to avoid that motherfucker because, he gonna like me. Shit, I'm a good looking nigga. Like, I can't have this nigga. I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious, yo.
Anytime these busted, crummy, just nasty ass motherfuckers swear that
I
we want them, and it's like, you ain't got no money.
I ain't gonna hold you. That's what I was gonna get into.
You ain't got nothing that I want. You have nothing there's nothing that you can do for me. Nothing at all.
That was definitely one of the myths I wanted to dispel when we were talking, right? Because that's the funniest thing to me in my mind, thinking back, right? Like, who the fuck? I mean, the nerve, right, of us. Because we think that's how we think. Straight guys will think that every gay person will want them. Is attracted to them.
I don't even want every gay man that hit on me. You know what I mean? So right there, it's just like when you said that, I was just like, I think that's one of the main things that when a gay male is interacting with a straight male, is that the straight male is like, damn, I don't want this motherfucker to start trying to hit on me and like on me. But to be honest, that happens a lot. It happens a lot more often, and I see why, but
What do you mean that happens a lot?
It happens where
what happens?
People like when gay people start to like straight men, or they automatically. I've had people like who I was friends with. They don't care. They didn't care if you were straight, gay, or not. They will come up to you and flirt with you, and however it went, it just went. Me personally, I'm not doing that because I'm never making anybody feel uncomfortable. I am not that type of person. I don't lust over straight men. I barely even lust over gay men. Like I can say he's attractive, he's handsome. You know what I mean? Or if we're close enough, I could tell you like, yo, kind of looking all right today, but I do that with my straight male friends. I have a good amount of straight male friends, and Chancey does too. And we're like this. Like in college, I didn't slept in the same bed with one of my male straight friends. I was at the bottom, he was at the top. Nothing went down. You know what I mean? Because I'm not forceful. I'm not putting that on nobody. I'm not even thinking of you like that. It's not the case. I just want to have a damn conversation with you, give you some insight, maybe even teach you how you could help, how you could treat your woman better. Like what's some things that you might want to, as a gay man who's passive and I'm really close with women, I know what they want, even though I'm not with them. Like
y'all niggas better pick up on game.
I'm telling you, I tell a lot of my straight friends come to me. A lot of straight men come to me. Like, how can I do this? How can I do that? Like, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? Like, why did she act like this? I'm like, because you're an asshole and you did X, Y, and Z. And to hear that perspective from another man is like, oh shit, maybe I am being an asshole. You know what I mean? So like, I think that with me and Chancey, when we talk to like people, everybody like, like, oh, they're cool. Like, oh my gosh, like it's good to talk to you because we just have conversation. We want to talk. I'm not looking at your penis. I'm not sizing you up and down. I'm not looking at your butt.
Yeah, because we all think that.
I'm going to try to get you back in my bed.
No,
I'm not thinking of none of that. But I know straight men think like that. So it's like, you know what I mean? Or if you're friends with a gay guy, or why are you friends with him? You must be gay. Or
that,
like,
right?
Nah, that's my
you got
homie.
something you want to tell us, bro?
Like, no, he offering me more than what my straight homie is offering me. You just going along with the bullshit I might be doing because you got that same thinking. Whereas, a gay man could give you a lot of insight on different things. So like, I've had experiences with like straight men that were bad, but I had way more positive experiences. But the experiences that I had that were bad overpower the positive ones I had, which is ironic because I had more positive than negative. But I think that because it came from some family members and came from, home sometimes, that I just feel like a negative connotation with men. Like, even when like my girlfriend's like, oh yeah, we're going out and we're going to bring like their boyfriends, I'd be like, I'm all right. I will be the first to be like, no. Then after a while, once they like know me, they be like, oh yeah, you're pretty cool. Like things like that. So again, all we want is just to be friends and just be cool and cordial. We're not trying to like get in your pants and don't want you to get in ours either.
Right.
And that's kind of how I look at it. Like I'm sorry, Chancey, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. No, you're fine.
So it's just like it should be, I guess, kind of how you approach any relationship. With any person who you're trying to have a relationship or a friendship with. Like it shouldn't be any different than that. I respect your shit. You respect mine. We can kick it and we get along. If we get along, if we don't, then, everybody ain't for everybody.
Period.
But I think the biggest thing for me is, I understand that we all got free will. So that means we all can live our life the way we see fit. Whether we're right or wrong, it don't matter. Who's right or wrong, it don't. Because at the end of the day, we all have that choice as human beings to make our own decisions to live our lives. So whichever way you want to live your life, it's okay with me. Now, where the line is drawn is don't try to force your beliefs on me. That's different. And me accepting you living your life the way you want to live your life is not you forcing it on me because you're being who you are. So let's get that shit straight out there too, people. So like, well, you're forcing me to look at it because you're gay. No, that's just stupid. Look, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just the way I think people need to approach this subject is that it may not be for you, but that person has the right to live their life the way they want to live it.
Absolutely.
it takes time to unlearn that, you know, because in our community, we were all taught that so young. And, you know, we were always taught that that was not right. And it's just now that Charles and I, like even Black LGBTQ representation in the media. You know, we didn't have a lot of TV shows and movies growing up, you know, to look at and stuff like that, to like see people like us who we can relate to, like being successful and thriving.
Yeah,
and just
we had
like
to find that shit on our own.
and just living our best life. Like we had to navigate that on our own. And so for people growing up now in 2020, coming in 2021, they get to see that representation out there because people are fighting for that. But like, you know, obviously Charles and I are, you know, we're still growing and everything. But like, you know, looking back on it like 10 years ago, like, yo, like we didn't have anybody like that. Like we didn't have anyone who was like on TV and music and film that was like open and who wasn't being discriminated against, you know?
Right.
But it takes time to unlearn that. And I give people that you have to give people that time to unlearn it too. But, you know, you'd be surprised. Like you really would be, like, you know, a lot of the times that it does happen in terms of, you know, folks automatically assuming that we want something for them. And like, you know, Charles was saying, like me, like I'm so not a pursuer. Like you have to pursue me. But that's just because my mama always told me I was the prize growing up. So for me, it's just like
I just learned how to pursue people.
You know, like
why you looking at me?
You know, like for me, it's like you gotta, like I tell my boyfriend that all the time. You know, like when I say it, but it's the truth. But you had to come this way because I'm not coming for you. You know, you gotta come find me. You gotta, you know, come see what's up with me, and you pursue me. You know, so,
do that shit one more time here.
Listen, you know, so for me, it's just, you know, you gotta come find me. You know, but there's for me, yeah, like respecting people's boundaries is so important because I have boundaries of my own.
Right.
You know. Okay. And I hate when people, you know, violate those boundaries or automatically assume that, you know, because I'm, you know, gay, I do this or I do that, you know, or, well, you're gay. Why don't you know how to do hair? Or how don't you know how to do nails? Or how don't you know how to do this? Or how don't you know how to do whatever the case is? It's like, girl, I'm just fucking living. Like, relax. Like, you know, I'm just living. Like,
that's so funny.
Like, you know, it's just, I'm not.
I ain't gonna lie, because I would be the nigga thinking that shit, right? I would be the nigga thinking that.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I may not, you know, how to do some of those activities, but I can get you together. I'm a direct you to who you need to go to fix whatever you got going on. Right. I'm gonna be the front and tell you.
Yeah.
And, you know, Charles can tell you, you know, Charles mentioned earlier, we dress very differently. I love fashion. I love clothes. Very me, very that, you know, and so does he. So, you know, we have friends who we get to help in that way too. But yeah, it's like, it's a boundary thing, you know? And if we weren't taught not to like each other so much growing up when we were younger, like we wouldn't even view things like that, you know, as an issue as we get older, you know, but because we were taught it so much growing up, like, oh, like it's wrong to be this way, it's wrong to be that way. Yeah, it's sad because you end up missing out on getting to know some good people.
Some really cool people.
Yeah, like you end up missing out on building some really good relationships. And it's sad.
Yeah,
like I let, you know, turn me against someone, like you were mentioning earlier, something, you know, letting religion turn you against, you know, someone that you love, you know? It's and just a sidebar, you know, personally, I love the fact that you've come to a point where it's like, you know what, like if my kids go this way and my kids go that way, like I'm going to love my kids no matter what. Because honestly, like if you're not ready to give that unconditional love to your kids, maybe you shouldn't even be a parent.
Don't have them. Don't have them. Because they're gonna do shit and they're gonna be involved in shit and they are not going to be you. So if you're looking for a little mini me, cut it out. Don't have kids. You can have somebody who looks like you. But he's not going or she's not going to be like you. They're going to be their own little people. And that's a beautiful thing to watch them grow up into their own being. But they're just not.
But you have to be able to respect that too.
Yeah. And it's not because, I mean, we're also pushed in the Black community, especially as Black men. At least my generation was. We got 3 things we need to do as Black men, right? With our kids, with sons. We need to make sure that they graduate. We need to keep them out of jail and we need to keep them straight. Like those are actually things that our fathers taught us. You know what I mean? Like I heard that from my grandfather, from my father, from my uncles. Like, this is what you do. This is what being a man is. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you unfortunately, we do have to unlearn all of that. Yeah. You know, when you start, especially having families of your own, and you start getting out into the world and actually experiencing life, and not in your own little bubble that, you know, your parents forced you to be in a lot of cases, because they dictate to you who you're going to be friends with most of the time. And a lot of it's based on just where you live too. Yeah. You get out of that and you really start seeing that the world is much different. Yes, and so I'm definitely an advocate of get out of your space, get out of your bubble, go experience some shit out there, because I can guarantee you in your little 10 block square radius, if you get out that motherfucker, it's going to be a whole lot different, and it's going to be a whole nother world that opens up to you. And I encourage that all the time.
No, that's exactly. I mean, I left home at 17 for college. I have not been back. Like not been back, but I have not moved back home since. Mm-hmm. You know, like I've not turned back. And it's not that, you know, I go home, I visit. You know, I be with my mom and everything. And I live 15 minutes away from her now, which is the closest I've ever been to her. Because at one point I was like 5-6 hours away from her. Yep. And so for me, like I immediately, like as soon as I was going away to college, I said, boom, I need to go experience some new shit. I need to go, you know, see what the world is really about. And I agree with that so much, because it's like you just learn about you too. Like you can't, experience. Like, how do you expect to develop if you stay in the same environment your whole entire life?
Yeah. And I think what that does too is it creates more similarities than differences. Like despite sexual orientation, like we are so much more alike than we are unalike. And that's the part when you go outside your walls and you look for those experiences, when you open yourself up. I see aha moments happen for people all the time. And we can go black and white, you know, too, when they meet someone and they're like, oh, you're okay for a black person. Well, what does that mean? Like, what? Because I fish, you fish. Like, I like fashion, you like fashion. Shit, we drink wine, you drink beer. Like, we have so many more things in common than who I'm sleeping with or the color of my skin. Like, why can't we talk about
all
that?
White people are racist, though.
Yeah, well,
I'm Chancey gonna make sure he's straightened out.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Chancey is huge. He is huge on that. He would say that at any point. At any point.
I do. But you're right. That is a different topic.
But
we gonna have you back for that motherfucker too.
That's
because we got the militant. We got a militant son. And I shouldn't say it like that. He's very active in the Black community and civil rights.
Love it.
So, and he will agree with you.
He's actually a civil rights attorney.
Yeah, we
and he goes to all the spots where, you know, things are popping off.
Yes.
Love it.
But
yes. Different
Chancey said, yo, wait, let's get this straight.
Let me just put this out here right now. You do the black and white if you want. I'm going to tell you.
It's not that I don't like them. I don't discriminate, you know, but me personally, I always view it like this, you know. I feel like all white people are racist. I don't feel like black people are racist because black people are not in a position to oppress anybody. That's why
we don't have that much. We don't have power like white people do.
We don't, you know, and that's just where it comes from for me.
We're definitely gonna have your back though.
Even if they're not necessarily taught not to like black people, they're taught little subtle things such as locking your doors when you see a black person, gripping your purse too tight, you know, the certain verbiage that you use, the way that you describe black people, it all comes from systemic racism. So
they create biased situations for us.
Yep.
So yes, totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
So
can I add on to something real quick?
Go ahead.
While
Absolutely.
we're on the version of white people, personally, and this might like hit a nerve, I've always been more comfortable with being gay around white people because I didn't really care about what they thought about me. I've never said that out loud.
That's a great ass point, yo.
What you think about me, because when y'all look at me, y'all think I'm one thing, but I'm gonna show y'all motherfuckers I'm something else I'm a king up in here. So if I walk around with some heels on and a beard, y'all gonna respect me. Whereas when I'm around black people, I'm like, you gotta, because I respect black people and I love black people and I want their approval so much that I dim my own light around them so that they don't feel like I'm doing too much or I'm being this way. I just feel like as a black person, that just has always been a thing for me. But when I'm around white people, I give it up just like how I give it up. And if you got something to say, I'm gonna check you. That's the thing. Mm-hmm.
There was 2 questions I wanted to finish asking
go
before
ahead.
we ended the conversation. The first one was, and it was along the lines of being white and gay versus being black and gay. How much more acceptable do you think it is for white people to be gay than it is for a black person to be gay?
Always more.
Very acceptable.
Privilege.
You know what it is though? Because white gay people have always been placed in our media strategically. Look at Elton John.
Yes.
Look at someone who is as big as he is, as popular as he is, and and everything like that. And he's been gay for years. I mean, there are just so many. There's so many people who have been white that are gay that who've been placed strategically in our media as like the poster child for the LGBT.
Yes.
Yes.
And quiet as it's kept, white gay people do not have the same experiences as black gay people.
No,
they just
not
don't
even
have.
close.
First things first, they're not discriminated against for the color of their skin. That's one. 2 is just like, I will say that, being gay and being white is more accepted in our community. It is. And just in general, it's more accepted. Like I have met some white people who have been discriminated against for being gay. But that do go through similar struggles, such as, being put out, homelessness, things of that nature. They are out there and I don't want to discredit their journey. But when I'm looking at everything holistically, they do have it easier than we do. Absolutely. And then, on top of all of that, it's just like what Charles is saying, like, like when I'm around them, it's like, okay, like I don't really care, whatever the case may be, because like, I don't really give a fuck about what they think, and I don't really care about, how they feel or whatever the case may be. But, when I am around black people, it's like, like I have love for black people, I have respect for black people, and so I'm always going to show up for, the black community, even when they don't show up for us. And that's something that Charles and I also talk about in depth a lot too, is that, sometimes like we're showing up for people who are not, we're showing up for people who are being murdered, who, are being experiencing police brutality, for people who wouldn't even show up for us, but it's because we're black, and it's because we're pro-black, and it's because, we care about our community.
Yeah.
And it is tough sometimes,
It is.
But
we stand 10 toes down on that.
That was so powerful what he just said. Like, I was just in my mind as I was listening to you, Chancey, that's right, man. I could probably rattle off 5 different popular, famous white gay people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I only know like one that's alive and in a job that's in media on television. Which is Don Lemon. But other than that, who is actively open and who has a prominent position in front of cameras like that? I mean, I know they're out there, but what I'm saying is they're not promoted.
No,
like
Frank Ocean.
Frank Ocean.
I mean,
the mayor of Chicago.
Yes, what I'm saying is the media is not.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. They are prominently featured by the media.
And this is just recent
as white
times.
people.
Yeah,
black people are not.
If we go back, so we talked about Elton John. You go back to the 60s and 70s, like now we know certain people were gay, but that was not discussed. It wasn't even brought up. Like you were hard pressed to have someone come out and say, "I'm gay," and
don't
just
tell. So
and it's still like that in a lot of industries.
Yes,
athletics is a big one too. Statistics will tell you that. Look, there's some gay people that's out there in all the sports. There's a lot of them. And that's okay. But
for me,
society still has not made it easy for those individuals to be themselves.
Right.
You know, but
there's been some recent information that circulated, and you know that there's claims out there that Malcolm X was bisexual.
Yeah, there's claims about
no
that
kidding.
too.
Mm-hmm. That he was bisexual, and that he was also an escort.
Yes,
but that doesn't surprise me.
No,
sure.
None of that surprises me, though.
Sure.
So my last question that I have, because I feel like we can talk about this forever.
There's a lot still to unpack. There's still a lot.
We just hit surface stuff, people.
Because I still got questions on are all these types a thing? Like what? Like
no, we're not categories. Like the
category.
Yeah.
I was just about to go back on that and say like I was delving deep when I was talking about all the other stuff. I was like, back up. I had to realize like I'm not a surface talker. I'm not a surface thinker. I'm always trying to dig deep. So when it comes time to do that, then we'll do that. But yeah,
Charles,
definitely.
Yeah, we got you, Charles.
Either we gonna continue the conversation on your podcast because we dumb as fuck about the situation, or
ignorant as fuck.
Ignorant as fuck.
Call it ignorant as fuck.
Yes.
Or y'all just gotta come back. But I have one more question for you. Like, if there was anything that you could tell someone about being gay, what would you want them to know? Because I feel like there's enough negativity out there. So dispel some of that. Give us something that you would want for everyone listening and watching, and for anyone who comes across our podcast, like what would you want them to know about you being Black and being gay? What does that mean?
I would say, first and foremost, come out when you're ready. Think about all of the support or a lack thereof that you may have when you do come out, especially being a Black or brown man or woman, and you're coming out lesbian or coming out as gay. Just, sit back and really find who you are a little bit more and find your tribe. And your tribe could be someone who is not a part of your family. It could be a teacher. It can be a group of teachers. It can be a group of friends, whoever, that that will have your back. And don't let anyone dim your light when you do come out. Don't let anyone try to take away any and every one of your intersectionalities, because you're just not gay or just Black. You have other facets about yourself. And just know that, like, when it comes to resources, that there are many resources for Black and brown gay men, and just LGBTQ people in general. You have people like Chancey and I who are always willing to speak to any and everybody about when, if they're coming out, the process, or just different things. Everybody's process is different, but you're no less than anybody who doesn't identify with you. You're magical. You're perfect in your own regard. You're everything. You can always find your light in your tunnel, whether it might be doing here, or say you want to be like the next Obama, and you want to be the president of the United States, or you so happen to be gay. You can do that. You can do whatever you want in this world, and you don't have to fall accustomed to what society says being gay is. You don't have to be a masculine gay man. You don't have to be a feminine gay man. You could be whoever you want to be, and just know that when it's your time to shine, you're going to shine. And just be prepared for the haters, the naysayers, and be prepared for people who are going to support you. And when you do whatever you do it the best way you can. You're going to do it, be the best at it. And that's just it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, he summed it up in such a beautiful and powerful way. I mean, the only thing that I can add to that is that, and just to reaffirm, like, you do not matter less because of who you are, what you like to do, what you choose to identify as, or who you choose, what you choose to identify with. Like, you matter just as much, if not more. Like, you are important, you are loved, you are cared for, you have something within you that only other people who identify the same way as you can relate to. And so there is something completely special about you. You're not, you're not odd, you're not weird, there's not something wrong with you. You are unique. You're one of a kind. And, never let anybody tell you otherwise. Hold on to that near just, deep, and never let anyone take the power that you have from within you. Like, know that you are powerful. Know that you are strong. Know that, you can overcome anything that you want to do. Like Charles said, you can do whatever you want to do. But the only thing that I can add to that is know your worth. Be very, 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 aware of people who will try to talk you down, who will try to make you seem like you are less than, sometimes it's going to come in different forms. It's going to come in people trying to, minimize your voice or minimize what you're doing or minimize how you're doing it, and making sure that you are so aware within yourself to be like, you know what, I know me, I know myself, I know my worth. Being self-aware is like super important just in any situation in life in general, because if people can, manipulate you, they will. If people can get you to, settle for less, they will. People will do it. They will try to. And knowing that you are better than that and you are better than them, and that you do not have to settle for something, that love is that you can find love, and that you can be happy in love, and that you can have a family, and you can do, granted, achieve all these great things, but also achieve normal things as well that some of us just really want. And not being told otherwise. Like, just never, ever settle for less. Ever.
Damn, that's powerful, y'all. That's dope.
Thank you.
That's dope. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Chancey and Charles.
Yeah.
Y'all dope. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Y'all are too. We appreciate being here.
One of the dopest conversations that we've had. And this is the thing, everyone. On our website, go to urbangreenroom.net. We're going to put information on As Fuck Podcast and information on how to get in touch with Chancey and Charles. Hopefully, we'll continue the conversation. Like I said, we just started with the surface. We ain't even unwrap a lot of stuff. Like, there's so much deeper than our ignorance. Yeah, we got work to do. But we breaking it down one brick at a time. So we'll continue having these great conversations. But I got to thank you because when I reached out, I wasn't sure, but I'm so blessed that and thankful that you guys joined us for the conversation. It's as close to family as I was gonna get, and as we started the conversation, I felt like I got nephews now. Like that's how I was like, I got my family. Oh, look at me.
Love it. So
that's how I felt. When you come into the green room, you instantly become family. We got to add you to the family chat.
We love it.
So, thank you.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen.
Podcast. If you're not tuned in, you better get tuned in. Because you will be enlightened. And like I said, dope. Just dope as fuck. That's a whole nother. It's dope as fuck. So with that, everyone, I want to thank you for listening. Thank our guests and reach out to them. This listen, as fuck. I'm telling you, fan here, fan there. Thank you. This has been amazing. I'm signing out. This is your girl AA.
It's your man D Lewis.
And this has been another dope ass episode of the Urban Green Room Podcast Season 2. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning into the Urban Green Room Podcast. Let's keep the conversation going. Hit us up at urbangreenroom.net or on our Facebook or IG page.
I always follow them.
Tell us what you think about today's conversation. If there's a topic you want to discuss, let us know. And by all means, tell a friend. The Urban Green Room Podcast, giving you something to talk about. Until next time, we out.